Lonely CEO discovered heartwarming transformation after twin girls asked for leftovers. Amazing memory of connection revealed. Jack stared blankly at the half-eaten plate of meatloaf before him. The local diner buzzed with life, but for him, it felt as if a curtain had dropped, isolating him in a silent void. He was a successful CEO, plenty of zeros in his bank account, but today, like many others, his heart felt heavy with a longing he couldn't quite name. Each day was a blur of meetings and spreadsheets, yet behind the corporate facade lay a hollow man, one who had traded warmth for wealth. That evening, weary after another grueling day, Jack found himself craving a taste of nostalgia. The diner had a charm he loved, but longing only deepened his sense of loneliness. With a deep sigh, he picked at his meal, hesitating on the brink of pushing the scraps into his takeout bag. Just as he prepared to walk out, two bright-eyed 7-year-old girls approached his table. "Excuse me, sir," one of the twins said, glancing at Jack's untouched food. "Could we have your leftovers?" The innocent request caught Jack off guard. He looked into their hopeful faces, their unkempt hair bouncing with each word, and felt a wave of emotions wash over him. His instinct kicked in, and he handed over the meal, ignored the empty pit in his stomach, and felt something shift. The girls squealed in delight, their smiles brightening the dim diner. That simple act was more than giving, it stirred something deep inside him. As they chattered excitedly about their favorite meals and what they'd do with the leftovers, Jack learned their story. Mia and Lily lived in a cramped apartment with their single mother, juggling multiple jobs just to put food on the table. The heartache he didn't know he bore ached anew. "Do you like coding?" he asked, surprised at his own curiosity. The twins nodded vigorously. They wanted to learn, to dream bigger. And suddenly, Jack felt compelled to mentor them, hoping to give them knowledge as a gift. He set up rooftop sessions, filled with laughter, coding games, and the thrill of science. They shared moments of discovery that tugged at his very soul, building bridges between their two worlds. But joy turned to tension. As Jack became busier at work, some sessions started falling through, leaving Mia and Lily feeling neglected. The very isolation he sought to escape wrapped itself around him once again, threatening to undo all that had blossomed between them. Was he just another adult who couldn't hold a promise? One night, as Jack sat in a community board meeting discussing funding cuts to the girls' school, the stakes rose higher. The dismissive comments about families like Mia and Lily's hit Jack like a punch in the gut. The air was thick with prejudice and stereotypes, and he felt his heart race as he realized this wasn't just a decision about money, it was about futures. Would he let his privilege leave him mute? Would he stand up, risk it all for girls who saw the world through eyes still brimming with hope? He took a deep breath, ready to confront the silent demons of his loneliness and fear. As he opened his mouth to speak, the crowd's eyes turned toward him, a mixture of skepticism and curiosity lingering in the air. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Jack locked eyes with Mia and Lily among the crowd, tiny pillars of hope against a tide of despair. The weight of the moment settled on his shoulders. Would he find the words? Would they resonate, transforming not just perceptions but lives? He took a step forward, feeling the fervor of purpose no longer dulled by solitude. As the words began to flow, the room fell silent, each heartbeat echoing potential and change. The narrative hung in the balance. Would he ignite a spark of hope, or let fear close the door once more? Jack took another steadying breath, the silence in the room almost deafening. His heart raced as he caught Mia and Lily's eager expressions locked onto him, their innocence a reminder of the importance of his moment. He shifted his gaze from the board members, most looking skeptical, to the soft faces of the twins who had opened a door he didn't even know existed within him. "I want to pretend to understand everything about your lives," Jack began, his voice quivering at first. "But standing here today, I realize my privilege has allowed me to ignore how deeply people like Mia and Lily are affected by decisions made in this room." The murmurs in the audience buzzed like angry bees, but Jack pressed on. "I've spent years building a career, focusing on numbers and profits, and in that pursuit, I lost sight of what truly matters people. There are struggling families right outside these walls who would give anything for a chance to thrive." He could see skepticism on some faces, but anger brewed deep within him, illuminating his words. "Cutting school funding for these girls isn't just business, it's stripping them of their future. It's saying that their dreams don't matter." Mia's small hand shot up, and Jack instinctively paused. She looked up at him with wide eyes, her voice breaking through the tension. "But, Mr. Jack, we want to change the world. We can learn, we can make things better." Her voice trembled with raw determination, and every head in the room shifted toward her, the intensity of her hope palpable. Tears threatened Jack's eyes as he turned back to the crowd. "This is who we're fighting for. This is the future we have a responsibility to protect, not just their education but their very potential to shine brighter than we ever could." With his heart racing, Jack saw a few faces soften. The flames of change flickered in the air as he pressed forward. "I'm committed to investing in Mia and Lily. I'm searching for partners who want to help build opportunities for kids like them. Those of you with means can lend your resources, mentorship, support. Let's uplift their voices instead of silencing them." Time seemed to stretch, and Jack felt the weight lift slightly as he wrapped up. "Let us really make a difference, together." The applause erupted like fireworks, surprising him. It cracked open a buried hope in the crowd, and Jack caught a glimpse of Mia and Lily jumping up and down, their joy unrestrained. Laughter and excitement rippled through the room, fostering unity in a spirit that felt refreshing and true, but just then, a darker undertone emerged as a board member stood up, his expression grim. "That all sounds noble, Jack. But you can't change a system that's been in place for decades with just a few kind words. What's the real plan? And will you stand by it when it gets tough?" The atmosphere shifted. Jack's heart sank momentarily, sensing the wall coming back up. Doubts flooded his mind, but he had taken the first step. How far would he be willing to go? In that moment, Jack realized the battle had only just begun. He couldn't just inspire others, he needed a concrete mission for Mia and Lily and the other kids like them. Would there be enough support to turn his words into action? What could he actually do? As he left the meeting, determination surged through him. He had ignited hope, but what steps would he take now? The echoes of doubt faded as the street lights flickered on, illuminating a path forward. Jack resolved to reach out to every connection he had, but there was something lingering, something he hadn't yet understood. Taking out his phone, he texted Mia and Lily, eager to share his success. But as he hit send, uncertainty knotted in his stomach about whether he could truly deliver for them. What awaited them on this new path? Would they emerge triumphant or face resistance that could threaten their dreams? The resolve to reclaim his purpose hung in the air, yet its journey was still unwritten. Would Jack gather the resolve needed to combat the system standing in their way? As questions loomed, tension tightened around him like a cocoon, waiting to burst into a moment of clarity. The following days blurred into a frenzy of meetings, calls, and sleepless nights. Jack threw himself into his work, channeling the energy he gained from the applause into concrete proposals. Every early morning and late evening felt like an uphill battle, but it was one he was determined to climb. He drafted a plan to improve school funding and create after-school programs that would nurture the dreams of children like Mia and Lily. Each time he envisioned their eager faces, he felt a surge of purpose. Yet, the doubts from that board member haunted him. What if he couldn't get enough financial backing? What if the culture in that room stifled his efforts? One evening, as Jack stood in front of a mirror, adjusting his tie, he caught a glimpse of fatigue in his own eyes. The reflection revealed a man filled with passion but faced with uncertainty, a true weight on his shoulders. "This isn't just about you, Jack," he whispered to himself. "It's about them." He began reaching out to potential partners, community leaders, and even local businesses that could lend a hand. The response was mixed. Some listened, intrigued by his vision. Others scoffed, citing the risks associated with changing established systems. Each "no" felt like a punch to the gut, but every "yes" fueled his spirit anew. One late afternoon, he found himself sitting across from a woman named Teresa, a prominent philanthropist in the city. Her blue eyes sparkled with intelligence as she listened intently. He laid out every detail of his proposal, showcasing the potential impact on local children. When he finished, a pensive silence filled the air. "I admire your passion, Jack," she finally said, her voice steady. "But let me ask you something. What if you fail? What if Mia and Lily's dreams fall apart because of the system you're trying to combat?" His heart raced as he contemplated her question. He wanted to tell her that failure wasn't an option, to promise her that he'd fight tooth and nail for the girls. But the truth was, he had to admit he was afraid. Fear of letting them down, fear of the status quo, fear of becoming another failed idealist in a world full of cynics. "Then I suppose I learn and adapt," he said quietly. "But failing them is not in my plans. I want to show them that change is possible. These kids deserve a shot at real opportunities." Teresa leaned back, her expression softening. "That's the spirit I like to see. But you need to be prepared. This won't be easy. People will push back. The system is resistant to change, even if it's for good." Jack felt his resolve stiffen. He wasn't about to back down. They spent hours brainstorming ways to present a united front to the board, methods to streamline their message, and strategies for building community support. As the conversation flowed, so did Jack's inspiration. By the end of the meeting, he left with a renewed energy, a new ally in Teresa, and wisdom to navigate the challenges ahead. It felt like progress. Yet, as he walked to his car, an unexpected wave of doubt rushed through him. Could he really stand up against the obstacles to come? Back at home, Jack opened his laptop, ready to type a message to Mia and Lily about what he had accomplished, but hesitated. Would he be letting them down if things took a turn? He took a deep breath and closed the laptop without typing a word. It wasn't time to wrap things in a neat bow. He needed to face the realities first. What awaited him on this journey? Could his determination truly spark a larger movement beyond the boardroom walls? A sense of urgency rushed over him as he realized more than just their futures were on the line. The girls' dreams and potentially many others hung in the balance that he scrunched his eyes shut, envisioning Mia and Lily smiling. The weight of that expectation was palpable. Just as he found a fragile piece, a chilling thought struck him. Could he really hold the promise of hope and change in his hands, or was he destined to watch it slip away? Jack was up early the next morning, the sun barely rising, casting a soft glow through the windows. He couldn't shake the weight from last night, the uncertainty pressing down like a heavy fog. The meeting with Teresa had lit a spark, but deep down, the concern lingered. Was he really equipped to make a change? As he sipped his coffee, Jack's mind raced through the strategy they had laid out. He could hear Teresa's voice. "You need a solid community backing to combat the system." He took another sip, the warmth contrasting sharply with the chill of his worries. With determination, Jack decided to rally support from the community. He gathered flyers, spending time envisioning how he would present not just the programs, but the benefits to everyone. He wanted the community to see that investing in children wasn't merely nobility, it was securing their future too. On the way to the first community meeting, his heart pounded in anticipation. This wasn't just about him anymore, it was about Mia and Lily. It was about every child who dreamed of something greater than what they were handed. As he entered the small community center, the smell of coffee and pastries filled the air. Slowly, people gathered, parents, teachers, and local activists who shared a common interest. "Thank you all for being here," Jack began, his voice steadying. He could see some familiar faces, including Mia and Lily's parents. The sight of them encouraged him as he launched into his presentation. He spoke passionately, painting vivid pictures of what after-school programs could look like. Laughter echoed within the room as he shared anecdotes about Mia's love for reading and Lily's knack for drawing. He could feel dynamics shifting, excitement igniting in the eyes of those who listened. Afterward, a wave of questions arose, and he welcomed each doubt. "What about funding?" one parent asked. "And how can we trust that this won't fizzle out like previous efforts?" Jack answered earnestly, "I'm not asking you to trust me blindly. I'm here to show you exactly how we can make this happen together. With your support, we can change the narrative for these kids." When the conversation started to flow organically, he sensed momentum building. The room buzzed with ideas and possibilities, and that elusive fear began to dissipate. People started breaking off into small groups, lending their voices, their talents, and their passions to the cause. Jack stood back, watching it all unfold. But just as he began to feel a sense of accomplishment, an abrupt crash of uncertainty hit him again when a familiar voice called out from the back of the room. It was the board member who had questioned him before. "Do you really think you can rally this much support? What if this is just a pipe dream?" Jack's heart sank. The doubt felt like a shadow looming over everything he had built up. Yet deep down, he refused to back down. "Yes, I do believe it's possible," he countered, heart racing. "I believe in our community and in these kids. We will work together to create the change we wish to see." The murmurs grew louder, people turned to him, sharing nods of solidarity. The board member's skepticism hung in the air like a thick wall. Jack could feel the tension, but he also felt the glimmers of hope. As the meeting wrapped up, a woman approached him. "You've inspired me, Jack. My son needs this," she said with tears glimmering in her eyes. Jack smiled, feeling a connection he had yearned for. Later that night, he sat in front of his laptop, ready to write to Mia and Lily. He hesitated, recalling the doubt from the board member. But then he remembered the woman's words, the support from the community, and the warmth of their shared hopes. In that moment, he realized that every big dream had its challenges. This was just the beginning. As he began to type about the reflection of hope he felt, an alert chimed on his phone. His heart raced when he saw the message, "Are you ready for the board meeting next week? You'll need all the support you've gathered." Was he truly prepared for what lay ahead? Could he leverage the community's enthusiasm to win over the board? Jack took a deep breath, knowing that the next steps would test him in ways he never anticipated. As he closed his eyes, he thought of Mia and Lily, their dreams buoying him forward, but an unsettling thought crept in: would the tides turn before he could even begin? Jack awoke early the next day, the sun now shining brightly. His nerves of the previous night still lingered, a constant reminder of the challenge he faced. The board meeting loomed ahead, and the weight of expectations pressed heavily on him. There was no turning back now. It was time to rally his allies. He could feel a flicker of hope as he opened the community center doors once more. This time, it felt different. The air was charged with energy, buzzing with conversations. Jack took a moment to absorb the scene, watching clusters of parents discussing possibilities, teachers nodding in agreement, and children laughing in the background. It was a sight that pulled him from his self-doubt. As he stepped into the room, a wave of warmth washed over him. The community was coming together not just to discuss after-school programs but to forge a path forward for their children. It filled Jack with a sense of purpose. He wasn't just a lonely voice anymore. "Let us build on yesterday's momentum," Jack called out, his voice stronger than he felt. The crowd quieted, anticipation hanging in the air. He introduced a format where everyone could contribute ideas directly. Raised hands erupted across the room, each voice bringing forth fresh suggestions. Parents offered to host bake sales, teachers expressed interest in leading workshops, and local businesses pledged small donations. Every idea felt like a brick laid toward the foundation of what could be As the discussion flowed. Jack felt himself swell with pride. He listened as Mia's dad, Joe, passionately described how a program fostering arts could be a turning point for kids. Lily's mom, Laura, spoke of a sports initiative that could bring the whole community together. Each word reinforced Jack's conviction that they could make something real, but the moment of joy was abruptly interrupted. Just as a parent suggested a possible location for meetings, the board member from before, Karen, entered the room, crossing her arms. The mood shifted, excitement dampened by a chilling uncertainty. "What is going on here?" Karen questioned, eyes narrowing, skeptical. "You think this is enough to impress the board?" Jack's heart sank again. He could practically feel the enthusiasm in the room waver. But instead of retreating, he took a deep breath, willing the passion coursing through him to rise to the surface. "This is only the beginning. We're not just throwing ideas around, we're crafting a future." Karen looked around, and he could see pockets of nodding heads and supportive glances. "You can't judge just yet," he added, his voice steady despite the thunderstorm brewing inside him. Then Mia piped up. "I believe in this," she said, standing beside him. "We need this." Her sincerity sliced through the tension. Jack saw the impact her words had on the audience. Their faces lit up with renewed hope. That's when it struck him the power of connection in their shared dreams. They weren't just a community, they were a family. Karen's expression softened slightly, but doubt still lurked behind her eyes. Jack stood firm, locking eyes with her, feeling anchored by the tides of support around him. "Let us prove to them that we can do this," he said, turning to the crowd. "When we show up, we change the conversation." With each passing moment, Jack felt an electricity surge through those gathered. There would still be challenges ahead, but now he wasn't up alone against the wall. He was supported by every voice in that room. As they began to organize teams and assign roles, the energy surged higher, and Jack knew, deep down, they were building something special. That evening, as he prepared to send follow-up emails and notes, a message once again buzzed his phone. It was from Teresa. "How did the meeting go?" "I believe in you, Jack." A smile crept across his face. He realized they were in this together. The board meeting was not just his battle, it was their shared fight for a brighter future. But as he set his phone down, another thought crept in. If the board was resistant, could everything they built collapse? Jack couldn't let that happen. What if the pivot they were hoping for was just on the other side of doubt? With renewed resolve, he took a deep breath, ready to march into the next challenge. All he needed was faith. But would faith be enough to carry them through the storm that awaited? Would the board meeting be his chance at victory, or the moment that shattered everything he had worked for? Jack arrived at the board meeting with his heart racing and determination stealing him. Every step felt heavier with the weight of the community's hopes on his shoulders. As he walked through the doors, he couldn't help but notice the anxious faces of his fellow parents and teachers. This was it. There was no turning back now. The conference room was stark, illuminated by harsh fluorescent lights that stripped away any warmth. A long table filled with board members eyed him as he took the stage, the tension palpable. He could see Karen sitting at the head, her expression unreadable, a challenge in her eyes. Taking a deep breath, he tried to project calm, but inside, doubts clawed at him. Was he really ready for this? "Good evening, everyone," Jack started, his voice louder than he felt. "I'm here to share the ideas and dreams of our community, ideas that we believe can reshape the future for our kids." Quiet murmurs filled the room, skepticism mixed with curiosity. He presented everything, from the arts programs to sports initiatives. Each word swirled with passion, expressing not just his hopes but the hopes of everyone who believed in this cause. He could almost feel the energy from the community center echoing in this cold room. There was no place for fear when dreams were on the line, but then, Karen interrupted, her voice sharp and critical. And you think a few ideas are enough to sway this board? What about the budget? The long-term sustainability? You need more than enthusiasm. Her gaze pierced him like a dagger. You need a solid plan. Jack swallowed hard. It was like a punch to the stomach. He had anticipated objections, but he hadn't been prepared for this level of scrutiny. Hadn't they all just shared their hearts yesterday? He looked back to the parents in the room, searching for support but finding apprehension. Doubts crept in again. What if Karen was right? Were they merely chasing shadows? But just then, he caught Mia's eye. She was his anchor, a shining light of everything they were fighting for. Mia believes in this, he said suddenly, surprising himself. This isn't just a proposal, it's a vision built on community. Each of us is invested here, not just because we care, but because we want to create a sustainable future. The room fell silent, the weight of his words hanging there. Was it enough? He could see a flicker of curiosity in the eyes of a few board members, an inkling of interest perhaps awakening. Yet, Karen leaned forward again, challenging. And what happens if it fails? She asked, a sharp edge in her tone. What will you tell these families when dreams fall apart? Jack's heart raced. The enormity of her question struck deep. What did failure even mean for them? Suddenly, images of parents rallying, of kids rejoicing in classrooms filled with art, and of laughter on sports fields flooded his mind. The visibility diminished, but the belief within him surged. We'll find a way, he responded, each word a gentle battering ram against her cynicism. Together, we will never give up on our children. There was a murmuring among the board members, a slight shift. Jack could feel a transformation brewing, the kind of fierce hope that ignited within communities. As he looked around the room, inspiration sparked in the eyes of the parents. Would this moment change their trajectory, or would it be yet another move in a losing game? But before he could dwell on that, clashes of discussions erupted around him. Conversations sprinkled with excitement, doubt, and even enthusiasm began to ripple through the crowd. Maybe there was more to come, a chance to reshape not just their community but also the future. Just then, a sudden thought gripped him. What if their journey didn't just hinge on their proposal? What if this was about creating something greater than dreams, more than a simple plan? Jack's heart raced again as an idea ignited. What if we turn this into something bigger, a movement? The room hushed, curiosity sharpening faces. Was it possible? Could they, with sheer will, rally the community to support their cause? Fully, as the board meeting continued, Jack felt the tide shift. The stakes had never felt higher, but he sensed a crack forming in Karen's armor. The embers of possibility glimmered on the horizon. But with all that hung in the balance, would they rally enough to face the final judgment? And if they did, what new revelations might emerge as they fought to protect their vision of a better future? The room buzzed with a strange energy, like a wildfire waiting to explode. Jack glanced around, searching for allies amidst the shifting tides of uncertainty. He realized this wasn't just about him anymore, it was about the whole community standing up together. What if we turned the tide? He pressed on, his voice gaining strength. What if we took this beyond a board meeting and into the hearts of every family out there? Karen's eyebrows furrowed, but there was a hint of intrigue in her eyes. You think you're going to ignite a movement with just words? She challenged, folding her arms across her chest. People need proof. Data. Real change isn't built on lofty ideals. Jack felt the fire inside him flicker, then blaze bright again. What if we show them what's possible? Let us create a community day, bring everyone together, parents, teachers, students. We can showcase our talents, our hopes. Let them see the potential in action. A ripple of murmurs ran through the room, mingled eyebrows raising among the board members. Jack caught sight of Mia, her eyes wide with encouragement. That glimmer of support fueled his heart, pushing him to keep going. What if we organized art exhibits, talent shows, family gatherings? Let the community come alive. This isn't just our plan. It's theirs too. Jack's voice rose, each word pouring passion and urgency into the room. As he spoke, he could almost envision it: children leading workshops, parents sharing stories, and teachers showcasing innovative projects that could reshape the educational experience. Then, Karen leaned in closer, skeptical yet intrigued. "And what will you do if they fail to show up?" "What then?" Jack hesitated for a fraction of a second while her question echoed in his mind. The truth is, a part of him feared that very outcome. But the thought of failure was overshadowed by the promise of what success could bring. "If they don't show up, that's not just on us. It shows us exactly what they need. We can't force them to engage, but we can create an environment where they want to." Silence fell again, deeper this time, an electric anticipation hanging in the air. Every board member was captivated, weighing his words against their own preconceptions. Jack clenched his fists together, his heart thumping like a drum. This was it. There was something igniting in the crowd, a shared yearning for connection, for opportunity. Just then, one of the quieter board members, a woman with kind eyes and gentle features, spoke up. "What about funding?" Her voice was soft but clear. "Making a motion is one thing, but we need resources. Without them, all of this is just talk." Jack nodded, acknowledging the reality. "True, we need to secure funding, but we can start small. If we host community events, we can tap into local businesses for sponsorships. People love supporting initiatives that uplift their community. If we unite, we can find ways to help each other." Karen opened her mouth, likely to counter again, but instead, her lips pressed into a thin line. He could see the wheels turning in her mind. Was she starting to see what he envisioned? Jack felt excitement rushing through him. They could create something remarkable. All it took was one brave step forward. Before he could speak again, someone in the back of the room raised a hand. It was a father, a familiar face from the community center. "Jack, I love what you're saying. Count me in. I'll help organize the events." More hands started to rise. The air shifted with every new supporter. Whispers of agreement filled the room like music crescendoing to a harmonious peak. Jack felt a wave of warmth wash over him. Yes. Together we can make something beautiful happen. But just as hope surged, a shadow fell over their budding enthusiasm. Karen's expression shifted to one of steely resolve. "I still need to see a concrete plan on my desk by the end of the week if you want my support. No pressure, right?" A dagger of tension slid crackling through the air. Jack's heart sank. The thrill of potential was now mixed with the weight of a deadline. Could they rise to the challenge? In that moment, he understood they weren't just fighting for a proposal anymore, they were battling for belief itself. Would they buckle under pressure? Or could they transform their ideas into something real, something tangible? The board meeting resumed, but a new wave of determination flowed through Jack. There was power in the community behind him, but would it be enough? What kind of self-discovery awaited them as they raced against the clock? A journey had just begun, and with it, new obstacles loomed ahead waiting to be faced. Jack sat at his desk long after the meeting ended, staring at a blank page. The room was dim, a flickering light bulb overhead casting shaky shadows that felt like a mirror to his anxiety. His heart raced as he recalled Karen's challenge. A concrete plan by the end of the week? He had just a few days to ignite the spark of community, and a sense of urgency weighed heavily on him, breath in, breath out. He needed to think. He grabbed a pencil, tapping it against the wood of the table, trying to channel all his swirling emotions into something tangible. The thought of failure gnawed at him. Were they prepared for what lay ahead? What if they didn't pull together? "Focus, Jack," he muttered to himself. He needed a structure, a blueprint for their vision. He could already visualize the hype and excitement of Community Day, but they needed more than just ideas. They needed specifics. As he scribbled down notes, he could almost hear the laughter of kids and the chatter of families. What about food? Local businesses could support food stalls. How about a community mural project? He jotted down everything he could think of: workshops, performances, sharing resources, and most importantly, connection. Slowly, a rough framework began to take shape. Just as he was feeling a flicker of hope, the door creaked open. Mia peeked in, the hesitance in her posture lightening as she entered. "Hey, Jack. I was just thinking, how's the plan coming?" She wore that encouraging smile that had buoyed him earlier. Grateful for her presence, his shoulders relaxed. "I'm trying to sketch something out. It feels like a mountain, you know. Karen said she needs a solid plan, and I'm just overwhelmed." Mia finished. "You've got this, Jack. You stirred something today. People want to be involved. What can I do?" A spark ignited in Jack's chest. "What if we mobilize them? You could reach out to some of your friends, maybe rally them to help with logistics and planning. If we spread the word and get others to dive in, we can draft a proposal together." She nodded eagerly. "Absolutely. Let's make a list of volunteers. I can send out a message through the social media groups. People love to support their school and community." As they pieced together their plans, the excitement swelled between them. It wasn't just Jack's idea anymore, it transformed into something communal, a true collaboration. With each idea exchanged, Jack felt the weight on his chest lifting. They were creating something real, a chance to breathe life back into the community. "Let's set a few meetings," Mia suggested. "We can gather people, brainstorm together. We want everyone invested, feel like they belong." "Exactly," Jack exclaimed, suddenly feeling alive with possibilities. His heart raced not from fear, but from the thrill of collective potential. They could do this together. For hours, they worked side by side, fueled by takeout and passion. An array of names were written down, ideas blossomed, and hopes grew like wildflowers in spring. With each scrap of paper filled, Jack dared to dream a little bigger, but as their work wrapped up and the sun sank low, casting amber hues through the window, shadow loomed again. A thought struck Jack: what if the proposals still fell flat? What if their plans crumbled under scrutiny? Just when his doubts began to creep in, his phone buzzed with a message. He opened it and read a note from another board member, extended an unexpected offer of help. "Count me in for Community Day." It read. A smile crept onto Jack's face. Maybe, just maybe, they could pull this off. But that lingering fear clung to him. If they stumbled, would the hope they had ignited snuff out? The clock ticked on, urgency intensifying in Jack's chest. But beneath that pressure, he felt an undercurrent of hope. What awaited them in the days to come would either solidify their dreams or send them reeling into doubt. Could they turn this whirlwind of ideas into a living, breathing celebration of community? The stage was set, but the final act was still unwritten. Would this all lead to triumph or failure? Jack clenched his jaw, resolved to see it through to the end no matter what, but doubt flickered. What if it turned out to be too much for them to shoulder? Time would tell, and their journey was only just beginning. Jack awoke the next morning, sunlight streaming through the curtains, illuminating the scattered notes from last night's brainstorming session. He could still feel the remnants of excitement coursing through him, but the shadows of uncertainty loomed large. This Community Day idea was starting to take on a life of its own, and he knew they needed to harness that energy. As he brewed his coffee, Jack stared out the window, watching the neighbors slowly start their day. Children were playing, bicycles whirred by, and behind it all, he could sense the heartbeat of the community he longed to connect with. It felt so close yet out of reach. Was he aiming too high? His hand trembled slightly as he took a sip of his coffee, the warmth grounding him momentarily. With renewed determination, he set to work on refining their plans. He reached for his phone and scrolled through his contacts. A wave of nervousness washed over him as he decided to call Sophie, the owner of the local bakery. She had always been involved in community initiatives, and he hoped she would be willing to contribute. "Hey, Sophie. It's Jack," he greeted nervously. "I'm trying to put together a community day and thought you might want to set up a food stall. We'd love to promote local businesses." The enthusiasm in her voice reassured him. "Absolutely. I'd be thrilled to help out. Count me in." Just like that, a little spark ignited more brightly within Jack. He couldn't help but smile, feeling a sense of support starting to build. Over the next few hours, he reached out to a few more key figures in the community: a teacher, a talented artist, and a local musician. Each conversation led to another, and one by one, people expressed their willingness to be involved. Each yes felt like a weight lifting off his shoulders, a steady reassurance that they weren't alone in this. Mia joined him later that afternoon, her energy matching his own. "I took your advice and talked to a few friends. They're excited about the idea of volunteering," she reported, her eyes sparkling. "We're already forming teams for logistics and setups. And I mentioned a talent show, where local kids can perform." Jack laughed. "A talent show? That could really get people involved. It's perfect." Together, they mapped out lists of potential volunteers according to different sections of the day: activities for kids, food, a schedule of performances. But as they brainstormed, a gnawing worry returned to the surface: a familiar but unwelcome companion. What if they failed to bring everyone together? What if the proposal fell flat? Every time those thoughts bubbled to the surface, he quickly brushed them aside, unwilling to invite negativity to this blossoming journey. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across their handwritten notes, Mia leaned back in her chair, her fingers tapping nervously on the tabletop. "Jack, it's okay to be scared. It means you're invested in this, right?" "Yeah," Jack admitted, the tension in his chest tightening. "It's just, there's so much riding on this. I want it to be perfect for everyone. What if they don't connect like we hope?" Mia reached across the table, her hand resting on top of his. "Let them know it's okay to fail. But it's also okay to try. And trying is what matters most." Her words seeped into him, filling the gaps of doubt with a sense of warmth. A possibility narrowed into focus. They wouldn't be just organizing an event, they'd be creating a bond. That night, as Jack lay in bed, staring up at the ceiling, a renewed sense of purpose twitched with possibility. He couldn't control how the day would unfold, but he could steer it with intention. With people rallying behind them, this could be a true celebration of community, but still, questions lingered. What if someone showed up with bad intentions? What about the unforeseen challenges? Jack's phone buzzed once more with a notification, and he grabbed it, half expecting another heartbeat of support. Instead, it was a news alert about rising tensions in the neighborhood. Fear trickled down his spine. What would that mean for their plans? Tomorrow would be crucial. He needed all hands on deck to keep the community united, but would they all step up in the face of uncertainty? The sun crept over the horizon, spilling soft light into Jack's room, filling it with hope. Today was different. Today was Community Day, the culmination of dreams woven together from countless conversations, hopes, and fears. He felt it deep in his bones. The palpable energy of potential crackled in the air. Jack arrived at the community center early, heart racing with anticipation. Tables were set up, colorful banners displayed local talents, and laughter already rang out as families piled in. Mia and Lily were already there, their joy infectious as they flitted around, rallying students and volunteers. "Look at this, Jack. We really did it!" Mia exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. Jack felt a warm swell in his chest. The energy they had built was alive, throbbing with excitement, and today, it would shine. Together, they set up a space for children to paint, a section for sports activities, and a stage where local musicians could showcase their talents. Volunteers buzzed around, sharing smiles and laughter. Jack felt a release of tension he hadn't realized he'd been holding. The worries that crept in, filled with uncertainty, began to fade as he focused on the vibrant scene around him. The event started, and families flooded in. Children laughed and chased each other, splashes of color transformed the walls as kids painted cheerful murals, while parents engaged in conversations filled with camaraderie and connection. Jack felt his heart swelling. They had banded together and created something beautiful. Just when he thought he couldn't feel any happier, he caught sight of Mia and Lily sharing cupcakes with other children, their laughter ringing like a sweet melody. They had not just transformed Jack's world, but ignited a ripple of warmth across the community. An hour into the event, he stood on the makeshift stage, watching the crowds with awe. He took a deep breath and approached the microphone, ready to share the love that had propelled this day. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. We've created this event together, not just for fun, but to remind us of what we can accomplish as a community. Let us show up for each other, let our voices resonate far and wide. The crowd erupted in applause, and Jack's heart danced. This was more than a movement, it was real connection. But just as momentum hit its peak, a towering figure walked toward him. It was Karen, her fierce expression lent an air of skepticism. Jack's heart sank. Would she dampen this joyful day? Jack, she started, her tone colder than he expected. The crowd paused, a collective breath held as they awaited her words. I have to say, I wasn't sure you'd pull this off, but I guess I owe you an apology. This is impressive. A hushed murmur of surprise rippled through the crowd. Jack couldn't believe it. Thank you, Karen, he replied, a smile breaking across his face. This is just the start. Together, we can keep building on this. Karen nodded, perhaps sensing the tide of change. You might actually have my support for that funding, she offered. Gasps filled the air, followed by cheers that erupted spontaneously. Jack gaped, trying to process her words. He felt the warmth of unity washing through the crowd. This conversation had shifted from doubt to something profound: trust and collaboration. As the day continued, children performed their dances and songs on stage, families cheered, and even the adults shared their talents in an open mic session. Laughter filled the once muted corners of the community center. This was magic, a reminder of shared hope, of what they could become together. Later, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting an ethereal glow over the space, Jack surveyed the crowd. He found Mia and Lily, grinning ear to ear, joy radiating from their tiny frames. Did we do it? Mia asked, breathless and wide-eyed. Yes, he replied, his voice thick with emotion. We created something magical. As families began to depart, bonding and planning for future gatherings, a deep sense of fulfillment settled in Jack's heart. No longer did he feel lonely, he was part of something greater, woven into the fabric of a community that cared. Every child deserved the chance to thrive, and now, with renewed affection coursing through him, Jack knew they would fight hand in hand to ensure dreams flourished and hopes soared. But even as the night settled in, a sense of urgency pulsed through him, as if they had just begun scratching the surface of change. Realizing the depth of their potential, Jack looked at the kids dancing in the fading light. A large rush of gratitude filled him, combined with clear determination. They wouldn't stop here. This was only the beginning. So, if you love this story, this journey of transformation, don't wait. You need to subscribe now to stay connected for more exclusive stories that will inspire change. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it makes a difference. And I want to hear from you. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this finale. Your perspective matters. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation unfold. Don't wait not even one more second. The time to support is now.